Kadosh Boker Tov Masechet Rosh Hashana Daf Daled Amud Aleph. We are actually on the last line of the page, 3481 on the bottom. We're going to be Bezrat Hashem basically finishing the Masechet right now. So it starts over here like this: the two dots, Taka Barishona Umashach Bashniya. So imagine right now comes and you were Tokea like Talacha the first time around, and then you were Mashach Bashniya Kishtain, and then you came. Right, and you were mashach bashniya, which means the second one you blew it like twice. So you did kiyat shofar at the beginning, and then you were mashach bashniya. What does it mean mashach bashniya? Right, you went and you did the second one very very long. So you went to. You just continue going. Right, so the Mashach Bashniya Kishtayim, you did it like twice. So what do we say? It's only one. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, Shama Teisha Tekiyot Beteisha Shaot Bayom. If a person came and he heard, Lamedalet Amud Bet, for those that are paying attention, yeah, 34b on the top. A person came and he heard Teisha Tekiyot Beteisha Shaot Bayom. So he heard one right now, one another hour. It doesn't matter. I'll just give you the example. Okay. So in such a form, it says over here, Yatsa. You are going to be Yatzeh Yedei Chova. Okay? Fine. Tanya Mihachi, we also learned this in a Braita, right? Where the Braita says, Shama Teisha Tekiyot Beteisha Shal Bayom Yatsa. So the Braita also says the same thing, which means Tekiya B'Shah Rishona, Teruah La'achar Shah, Tekiya B'Shah Shlishit, and that's how you did it. So imagine you did Tekiya, Teruah, Tekiya, but each one was a different hour. So you did right now, shh, guys. Yeah, you heard atkiya. After an hour, atruah. After an hour, tekiya. And you continue doing that. Okay? So you're going to be Yitzhak Chovah. So says the Gemara, Mitisha b'nei Adam ke'echad. But what happened if you heard the 9 sounds, right, from one person, the vatachat? Right? That's like here. Right? Sometimes you could hear the Daf Yomi from 4 different people, even though I'm saying the Daf and other people are talking about coffee, but it's Tisha Mibnei Adam. What's halacha? No yetza. You're not Yitzhak Chovah. Why are you not Yitzhak Chovah? Yeah, you're not Yitzhak Chovah, nothing. Walo. Yeah, why? It says because you cannot hear. Tekiya mizeh, teruah mizeh. But if you hear one tekiya from one person, and then afterwards a teruah from another person, but it's not ke'echad. It's not like in one shot. Because remember, one shot you cannot hear. You're not there. You cannot hear 9 sounds in 1 second. You understand? It's either you're listening or you're paying attention to something else. You understand? Like so here. What? Like exactly, like here. No, what do you think I'm talking about? You know, they're on the phone. They're with us in the daf. I'm saying, you understand? So what happens is, Tisha b'nei Adam ke'echad lo yatsa. You're not going to be a tzedek chovah. Tekiya mizeh ve'truah mizeh yatsa. Va'afilu b'sirugim. And even if it's going to be b'sirugim, va'afilu be'kol hayom kulo, you're still going to be a tzedek chovah. Why? Because even though it's different people, the fact that you heard it, but it was going to be that you heard it from every person by itself. You heard it the way that it is, right? There's no problem. Okay. So says the Gemara. Does Rabbi Yochanan actually say this? The Amar Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan, right? Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzada, and the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzada, Bahalel uva Megillah, to do with Halel or the Megillah. Im shaha kedei ligmor et kula. If you made a pasek, yeah, you made a hefsek, an interruption, in order to come and in order to finish the entire thing from the beginning until the end, chozer larosh. You go back and you start from the beginning. Mash, you go back from the beginning. So says the Gemara, la kashya. It's not a question. Why is it not a question? Because basically the question was 2 minutes ago. You just told me that you did the entire day and you heard 9 tikiyot and it's going to be good. And we're not talking about that you heard it in 1 second. We're talking about you heard it a little bit now, a little bit later, a little bit this, that, right? And now what happens, right? What happens now, what he's saying is that no, that if you had enough time to make a hefsek, that's already a problem. Okay? So says the Gemara, it's not a question. Why not? Hadidei, hadirabe. Right? When you hear 9 tikiyot during 9 hours, you're going to be tzechovah. That's shitat Rabbi Yochanan himself. Hadidei. This is he himself. However, though, the din where he taught that if you're going to wait enough time to finish the entire thing, you have to go back to the beginning, you have to start again. That was his rabbi. Rabbi Yochanan himself held that you're going to be Sechula, which means that sometimes, right, the students would come and say what the rabbis held, and sometimes they would say, by the way, I hold differently. And therefore, we had conflicting views of what was his shita. But really, Be'emet, we know what his shita was, but he had, right, an extra shita from his rabbi. So says the Gemara, the Didei, are you going to tell me that Rabbi Yochanan himself is modeh to, or you're not going to tell me that Rabbi Yochanan himself is not modeh to his rabbi? You do go back to the beginning if he waited the entire time. Rabbi Avu, says Rabbi Avu, right? Basically, what happened with him was, he was once going behind Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, he was walking behind Rabbi Yochanan. He was reading Kriyat Shema. When he got to a place which was dirty, right? Whether it was, like a place where it's dirty with excrement or with urine or things like that, right? So what happened? Ishtik. He stopped. Why? You're not allowed to read Kriyat Shema in a place which is dirty. Batad de Khalif, after he went out of that vicinity, right? Amale, he says, Mahu ligmor. Can I finish it off now? Or was there a sek, I have sek, and therefore an interruption, and therefore I have to start from the beginning? So Amale, he said, Im sha'ita gedel ligmor et kula, was a rosh. If you waited, right, until that you're able to finish, right, the entire thing, right? That's it. Have sek. You have to go back to the beginning. So basically, Rabbi Yochanan is coming and giving a psak to Rabbi Avu. And now you're telling me that this is Shita, not Rabbi Yochanan, but rather his rabbi, Rabbi Shimon Yitzadak. Here, Rabbi Yochanan saw.
Let's say he said 2 paragraphs, so he only had the third one to say. If he waited for the time to say the third, then he needs to come back.
Yes.
What's the
100%. What?
What's the kesha between the two?
What do you mean, what's the kesha between the two? I don't understand.
Between the fact that
the Gemara, Haki Kamale. This is what he really told them. Ledidi lo svirali. I myself hold, right, that it says over here that I don't hold of this concept of hefsek whatsoever, right? And therefore, as long as you weren't standing there, right, you could have actually continued reading. Okay? Now, to do with the concept of ledidach, the sviralach, but for you, that you argue on me, and you tell me that you have to actually stop, so therefore you did stop, so now you're also going to hold that basically that it's going to be a problem with hefsek as well. So therefore, right? Then you have to be okay. Basically, there's a whole question over here. What exactly is there? Is there a machloket? Because basically, according to this, well, the way that we explained it, Rabbi Yochanan was basically telling him that as long as you don't stand and you're walking, so then you were allowed to continue Kriyat Shema. That was the shita of Rabbi Yochanan, even though it's not that simple. There are other people that they argue, but again. Right, this is just the concept behind it.
Why are they?
Now we learned to the Braita. Tekiyot and me'akvot zo et zo, which means the tekiyot of the Ta'anit Tzibur, they're not going to be me'akvot zo et zo. The brachot and the brachot that we add in Tfilat Amidah and me'akvot zo et zo, they do not me'akev each other. Tekiyot u brachot shel Rosh Hashana shel Yom Kippurim me'akvot. However, though the tekiyot and the brachot, which is basically malchiyot, zichronot, and shofarot of Rosh Hashana and Kippur, right, of Yovel, they are makvot zuzu, which means if you didn't say malchiyot, zichronot, shofarot, you shouldn't do tkiyat shofar. And if you didn't do tkiyat shofar, don't say the malchiyot, zichronot, shofarot, which means there they are makev each other. My ta'ama, what's the reason? Amar Rabba comes and says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Imru lefanai berosh Hashanah malchiyot, zichronot, shofarot. You should say in front of me, malchiyot, zichronot, shofarot. Malchiyot, kedei shetem l'ochim lelechem. Why are you going to say malchiyot? In order to proclaim that I'm king on top of you. Zichronot, Zichronot, in order that I should remember you for the good. Uvame, how am I going to remember you for the good? Bashofar, for the shofar. Okay. So now it says over here like this. We're by the 2 dots. Somebody that comes and he says tefillat musaf and he didn't do tkiyat shofar, and afterwards he has a shofar. So what does he do? Toke'a. Umeri'a v'toke'a. Yeah, he's going to do 3 times. Tekiya, teruah, tekiya, which is like we said, the tekiyot shalosh, shalosh, shalosh. Ta'ama, the reasoning why is the law of shofar meikar, but he didn't have a shofar at the beginning. Have a shofar meikar, but if he did have a shofar at the beginning, ki shama, right? When does he have to hear the shofar? Seder berachot shamalu. You have to hear it, seder berachot, which means you can't just decide and you want to say, I think that the rabbis were wrong. In the middle of Amidah, or even in the middle of Chazarat Hashatz, you're going to be blowing the shofar. I don't do that. When do I do it? After Shachrit. So after Shachrit, after Musaf. Right? After Musaf, what are you going to do? You're going to come do, says the Gemara, the only reason why he was able to do that was because he didn't have a shofar. Yeah? You listening? Yeah, he didn't have a shofar. But if he did have a shofar, for sure you have to do it, isn't there? Okay? So says the Gemara, Rav Papa Bar Shemuel kam letzaluye. So Rav Papa Bar Shemuel, he was praying by himself on Rosh Hashana. Amar le Shameh, he told the Shamash, Ki nahin nalach, when I'm going to make you a siman, tekali, blow the shofar for me. So Amar le, Rava comes and he tells Rav Papa Shmuel, lo amru ela becheverir. When did the rabbi say Chachamim are going to be tokea and seder brachot? Only in betfilat tzibur. When a person's beyechidut, he does it afterwards. Meaning, if a person is praying by himself, it's a big difference. That means it's already like a b'diavad. That's what we're saying over here, right? After Musaf. Means the person is praying by himself, he's going to have to do all the tikiyot afterwards. If a person is praying b'tzibur, that's when you do it al seder brachot, which that's what we said, what you're supposed to be doing. Okay?
But you have before Musaf.
Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. Rabbi Yehuda Chassid was one of the was before the Rishon. Yeah, fine. It's brought down. The Sefer Chassidim is brought down everywhere in all the poskim. Tanya Miyach, we learned in the Braita. Kishu shoman and seder right ala seder. When you hear the kulot, you have to hear them on the proper seder, seder brachot, and also seder brachot, which means first of all in the proper order. Meaning I cannot do a truah and then you have to do in the order which was the proper order, which is basically tashat, right? And you continue going. Seder brachot, and also on the seder brachot. But when you hear one of these words, becheverir or tzibur, aval shelo becheverir. But if you're praying by yourself, shoman ala seder v'shelo seder. You do it ala seder, but not on seder brachot. Yachid shelo taka chavero tokea lo. Now, if a yachid doesn't do it for himself, so this is what we were just speaking about before. Meaning, if a person doesn't blow for himself, then somebody else is going to blow for him. Yachid shelo birech, and a yachid that does not make the bracha, right, of the musaf of Rosh Hashana. En chavero mevarech alav. His friend cannot be motzi oto yechovah. Umitzvah batokiin yoter min hamvarchim. There's a mitzvah to be in the tokiin, right, even more than in varechim. Keitzad, what does that mean? Somebody that does not know how to be tokia shofar and he doesn't know how to pray musaf, and he's got two cities, shte ayerot, be'achat tokin u'be'acham marachin. One of them they do the tkiat shofar, but they don't know musaf, and in the other city they say tfiat musaf, but they don't know tkiat shofar. Right, or they don't have a shofar at all. Right, now he can't go to both. So he goes to the place where they have the tkiat shofar. Then he doesn't go to a place where they're going to do the tfilat musaf. So says the Gemara, shita obviously, hadoraita v'hadrabanan. Tfilat musaf at the end of the day, as long as you prayed one tfilah in a day, you already did your doraita. So it becomes drabanan. But tkiat shofar on Rosh Hashana is doraita. So obviously you're going to go to a place where they're going to blow the shofar. So what are you talking about then? Says the Gemara, lo tzricha. What are we talking about? Even though the one city, for sure, right, there's going to be a sheikh tzibur lo'otzi odam midei chovat musaf. In the other city, there's a safek if there's going to be there the tkiyot. Still go to the place where it's going to be a safek for the tkiyot and not to the vadai that it's going to be for the musaf. Okay, that's the chidush. Fine. Two dots. What? So now it says the two dots, okay? Keshem sheshliach tzibur chayav, kach kol yachid v'yachid. That means just like the shliach tzibur is obligated to pray, every single individual is also obligated to pray, right? That's what we said in the Mishnah, and Rabban Gamliel said no, that the shliach tzibur could be mitzvah acharim et chovata. So Tanya, we learned in the Braita, Amru lo Rabban Gamliel. The rabbi said to Rabban Gamliel, lidvarecha, according to you, lama tzibur mipallim. Why is it that tzibur bichlal mipallim? Why? Have the shliach tzibur do chazarat hashatz? The Gemara, no. You'll save a lot of time, no? Yeah, just do it like that. That's it. Yeah. So it says, Amar lahem, he answered them, Kedei lasdir shliach tzibur tfilato. Says, no. You know why? You're giving time for the shliach tzibur in order for him to prepare. Meaning, if you're going to tell the shliach tzibur right away, just pray, he's not. You cut him off guard. So what happens? You have to give him some time to prepare. So how does he prepare? You give him tfilah b'lachash. So Amar Gamliel comes and he says, according to you, that every single yachid is obligated to do it. Lama shliach tzibur yoreh lefnei tefillah. So why bichlal is there shliach tzibur? Everybody's praying by themselves anyway. So why do you need now shliach tzibur? Amrulo, it says, what are you talking about? But there are some people that are not bakiin. Samalayim, he told them, keshem shemotzi et sheno baki, kach hu motzi et baki. So just like he's going to be motzi mi sheno baki, so he's going to be motzi that which is baki. So Amar Rabbi Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. It says Rabbi Chana name Rabbi Yochanan. Modim Chachamim Rabbi Gamliel, right? The Chachamim, they actually agreed to Rabbi Gamliel, which means after they went and they argued on him, they retracted. And they agreed to Rabbi Gamliel that just like a Sheikh Tzibur could be Mutzi at the Bakim, the Eno Baki, so too he could be Mutzi the Bakim. The Rav Amar, no, Vadayni Machlok. It's still a Machloket until today. Okay, it's still going to be a Machloket until today. Shemia Rabbi Haya Bered Rabba Bar Nachmani. The words, right? It says over here, he heard the words of Rabbi Chana, right? That the Chachamim, they retracted and they agreed to Rabban Gamliel. And it said, Azal Amra Lishmata Kamed Rav Dimi Bar Chinana. So he went and he said this in front of Rav Dimi Bar Chanana. Amalei and Rav Dimi Bar Chanana told him, Achi Amar Rav, this is what Rav said, right? The what? Vadaini Machloket. It's still Machloket. So this was the same Shita of Rav that we just mentioned 2 seconds ago, that even until today, there's still a Machloket between Gamliel and Chachamim. Amalei Rabbi Bar Chana, says Rabbi Chana, Nami Hachi Kamar. Also, he said that there was a Machloket with Rabbi Yochanan. And this is what he said. Ki amar Rabbi Yochanan hashmata. When Rabbi Yochanan say this, sheudu lo chachamim, ipli gale Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish also argued on it. The amar, and he said, adayni machloket. That means it wasn't just a machloket between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav. Also, Resh Lakish argued on Rabbi Yochanan immediately, and he told him that it's still a machloket even then and there. So it wasn't just like, Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. So Resh Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan also the same machloket. So he said that it's still a machloket until today between Rabbi Gamliel and the rabbis. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Does Rabbi Yochanan actually say this? Ve'amar Rabbi Chana Tzipora, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Chana Tzipora in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Hilchata Rabbi Gamliel. The halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel. Hilchata nikra de pligi. When you say the halacha is like someone, that means somebody argues on him. Because if nobody argues on them, you don't have to say the halacha is like him. If somebody says, if there's only one opinion in the world, right, and are you allowed to do something? And the answer is yes or no, so you don't say the halacha is like that, because nobody else argued. So obviously when you say halacha, hirchata, nikla de pligi, so obviously somebody's arguing. Okay, Lamed He Amud Aleph, 35a1. So kisalik Rabbi Abba, right, miyameh. So when Rabbi Abba came and he came back from the sea, Pirsha, he went and he explained, Modim chachamim Gamliel, chachamim agreed to Gamliel, Bibrachot shel Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim, and the Berachot of Musaf of Rosh Hashanah Kippur, V'alacha miklal de plige, right? So when you said halacha is like Gamliel, so obviously somebody argues. It's talking about Bibrachot de Chol Hashanah. We're talking about throughout the entire year, because there also Gamliel held that everyone's going to be tzedachova with the Sheikh Tzibur, and they argue, the Chachamim argue on it, and they say that you're not going to be motzi unless you're not baki. So therefore, it comes out that there's actually going to be the machloket throughout the entire year, not only in Rosh Hashanah Kippur. Okay. So, Modim Chachamim Gamliel on Rosh Hashanah Kippur. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur of Yovel, the rabbis agreed to the Rav Gamliel that the Shliach Tzibur could be motzi Misha Eno Baki and Misha Baki. But when is a machloke between them? Only in the case of Brachot of Kol Hashanah Kula, throughout the entire year. Okay?
You don't need it.
So says the Gemara, any is it so? Ve'amar Rabbi Chana v'Tzipora Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Chana Tzipora in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Halacha Rabbi Gamliel b'Brachot. Halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel in Berachot. We're on Lamed He Amud Aleph, 35a1.
It's okay.
Yeah. Ve'amar Rabbi Chana. Rabbi Chana Tzipora. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Chana Tzipora in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel b'Brachot shel Rosh Hashanah Shemikunim. Halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel. Yeah, exactly. Start from the beginning of Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, he says halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel in Brachot, right, of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, which means that which he says halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel. So therefore, it's talking about only on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur that halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel. So Elam Rav Nachman b'Yitzchak, but rather Rav Nachman b'Yitzchak comes and he says, "Man modim." What does it mean modim? Rabbi Meir, right? Rabbi Meir agrees to him. Halacha mikal de plige, that's Rabbanan. That means when we say that the Chachamim were agreeing to Rabbi Gamliel, it wasn't the Chachamim in general. It was Rabbi Meir agrees to Rabbi Gamliel. But Be'emet, the others argue. Right? And who are the others? Rabbanan. Tana's we learned to write Berachot shel Rosh Hashanah Shel Kippurim. When you have the Berachot of Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, Shliach Tzibur motzi Rabbi Yidei Chovatan. So the Shliach Tzibur is going to be motzi everyone Yidei Chova. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. So you see from here that by Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, also Rabbi Meir holds like Rabbi Gamliel. Also Rabbi Meir holds like Rabbi Gamliel. V'Chachamim omerim, Chachamim say, Kashem shetzach tzibur chayav, no, everybody's chayav. even on the Rosh Hashana and Kippurim. So my Shnahani, what's the difference? Why is it that you're going to distinguish or differentiate between the tefillot of Rosh Hashana and Kippur and the tefillot of the entire year? If you're going to tell me because there's a lot of psukim, right? The Amar of Hanan el Amarav says Hanan el Amarav. Once you say you don't have to. You don't have to do all the different, the different psukim. Even if you just did one, that's fine. Rather, because there's a lot of brachot, which means the Rosh Hashana and Kippur, it's much more than all the rest of the year. Okay, because of the 9 brachot that you say in Rosh Hashana and Kippur, right? You have the malchiyot, zichronot, shofarot. They're very, very long. It's not like meaning during the year. How many brachot do you really have? So on Shabbat and Yom Tov, you have 7, right? Or during the week that you have 19. Right? It used to be 18, they added to 19. But they're not long. Here on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, you have 9. But the 9 is even much longer than the 19 than what you have. You understand? Right? No, so that's what we're saying. So
you just said you don't need to sell the psukim.
No, but not because of the tzukim. That's what he's trying to say. He's saying it's because of the brachot themselves. The brachot themselves are also long. You without the psukim. Psukim is only part of the brachot. The brachot itself is very, very long.
It's longer than
You have Alenu L'Shabeach in the middle of the Amidah.
Exactly. You have Alenu L'Shabeach. No, but that's all part of the Amidah. But they're all part of the Amidah. It's all part of the Amidah. That's part of the brachot of the malchiyot.
You said you could not say the psukim if you wanted. The brachot themselves, they're not long. It's the psukim that are long.
No.
It's part of the.
It's all part of the bracha. It's all one bracha, one long bracha.
So then the statement that you said that you don't need to say the psukim, then that doesn't stand because that's part of the bracha. You said.
It's not because of the actual psukim in itself. It's because of everything that you're saying inside of it, right? Like
Which
what
are
he
the
says.
psukim?
Which one?
Which are the psukim inside
It's
of
not
it?
only psukim. You're not only mentioning psukim. You have to mention 10 psukim, but it's not only 10 psukim that you're mentioning. The bracha itself is long. On Shabbat, you don't mention psukim, right? How many psukim do you only mention? But it's the brachot, right? The bracha in itself. But think about it. On Shabbat, how long is the bracha? The bracha is Elokeinu Melokavotenu. Amruch Hashem Mekadesh Shabbat. But you still have everything else. Yismuchu Malchutach, right? You have the, Tikat Shabbat or Lemoshe Tivita. You have, all those things are what add to it as well. But that's all part of the bracha. That's why you have 7 brachot. But that's all part of the middle bracha. Okay? So now he says it is. So Gufa, we actually just said, Amar Rav Chananel Amarav, says Rav Chananel Amarav, Kevan Shamar V'Toratcha K'tuv Moshe V'Natzarich, Savur Mina Hanemi LeBiyachid. When did he say that once you said V'Toratcha K'tuv Moshe, you don't have to actually mention the psukim themselves, right? He holds that that's only by Yachid. Aval B'Tzibur, lo. Meaning, the Shliach Tzibur in his tefillah is not going to say Chovah if he didn't say the psukim themselves. You have to say the psukim. So Itman, it was also stated, Amar Rishon Levi, Echad Yachid Ve'Echad Tzibur, Kevan Shamar V'Toratcha K'tuv Moshe V'Natzarich. No. He argues, whether it's a tzibur or the yachid, the second person says, that's it. He doesn't have to say anything else. So says the Gemara, says the Bilazar, Leolam yastir adam tfilato ve'achag yitpalel. A person should always prepare his tefillah and then afterwards to pray. Yeah? He has to prepare. Afterwards, he comes and he's going to pray. So Amar Abiyava says, Abiyava misabram into the Bilazar comes and he says, Bi brachot shel Rosh Hashana shel Purim shel Prakim. Right? Aval dechol Hashanah lo says no. When do we have to do that? Only by Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, or tefillot of Shalosh Regalim, which come with Prakim. But if the entire year, you don't have to do that. Why? Because everyone knows it. Saying every single Shachrit in Chanavi, you're doing the same every single day of the year. So you're not going to have to prepare. But Chagim, you don't do every single day. Right? Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, you don't do every single day. So there you have to prepare. So says the Gemara, any? Is it so that you don't have to even prepare the rest of the year as well? The Rav Yehuda used to prepare and then he used to pray. So answers the Gemara, Shana Rav Yehuda was different. He only used to pray every 30 days. Meaning the way that he used to pray once every single 30 days. Right? He says he was Chozel al Talmudo every single 30 days. So therefore he would never stop for 1 second. Mamash, he was a machine. So he was praying, he was learning. He never stopped once. When did he used to stop? Every 30 days he finished his learning. Right? Remember, Rav Chaim Kanievsky finishes every single year. When? Pesach. Yeah, Erev Pesach. Danim Bechorot. So this Rav Yehuda was finishing every single 30 days, every month.
Wow.
Everything. All the time. He finishes learning every single 30 days. Wow. So since every single 30 days he used to finish, he wouldn't stop for 1 second. So when he used to finish, right, which is every 30 days, he used to stop, right? He used to stop. And then what he used to do? he would come and he would pray. So he used to pray once every day.
Pray what?
Tefillah. He only used to pray once.
Tefillah?
At all. At all.
Is that like an exception? There's no.
Amar Ravacha Baravira Amar Shimon Chasida. Says Rabbi Yacha Baravira, the name of Shimon Chasida. Potera Yaram Gamliel Afilu Am Shebasadot. Do you know that the Rabbi Gamliel used to even exempt the people which are in the fields, that they were working? Because when Rabbi Gamliel used to hold that the Shliach Tzibur is Motzi Dechovah, the people, even the people which are not in the Bet Knesset will be Motzi Dechovah. Velomi Baya Hani Dekai Me'acha, not only the people that are actually here. Adarab, the opposite. Hani Anise V'Ani Lo Anise. He says those people are anus. They're force majeure, right? The ones which are sitting in the city, they're not force majeure. They have to come and they have to be here. But the ones which are outside, they're force majeure. Right? The people which are behind the Kohanim, right? Do you know that the people that are behind the Kohanim, that means, for example, let's say I'm praying where I pray. I pray by the wall. If I'm going to be in the middle of Amidah and then the Kohanim come, I'm not in Sechva. Why not? I'm behind the Kohanim. Right? The Bet Yosef brings down, I can be on the same level as the Kohanim. If I take 3 steps back and I'm on equal to the same level, then I'm going to be Zechova, but I cannot be behind the Kohanim. So it says here, Am Shochorea Kohanim, Enam Bichlal Bracha. But the Am Shebasadot, they're part of the Bracha. Now why? There's the people that are in the Bet Knesset, right? They could stand in front of the Kohanim. And therefore, if they didn't do that and they're going to be behind them, they're not going to be considered part of the Bracha. But the people in the Sadot, right, they're Anus. So therefore, they can be by the Kohanim. So because of that, that's why they're going to Zechova. So the same thing to do with the Tefillah. And obviously, this is where we're going to finish Bezrat Hashem and Masechet,